do you recommend our couples start? Like if you're sitting down, you don't have a planner.
Okay.
Let's say if you do have a planner and then you don't. I'm curious on both.
Yeah.
Let's start with if you don't have a planner. Where do you start as the couple? I would think you would work backwards, but I don't know. What?
Well, you have a few like hard and fast times that you kind of fill in, right? Like you know what time your ceremony is going to be, which if you don't know what time your ceremony is going to be, you probably haven't gotten so far as building your timeline. And then you have to think about, sunset and restrictions at your venue and things like that. And I think we talked about that in another podcast. So definitely go back and listen to that. But you kind of have those hard and fast times. You have the time of your ceremony, you have your cocktail hour time, you have your reception time. You know what time your reception has to end because you maybe have a 4 or 5 hour reception, or maybe you have a venue that means that your music has to be done by 10. So you kind of have that end time already kind of set for you, and then you can work your way backwards.
Oh, okay.
So, you got to think about everything that's got to happen before the ceremony, and what your kind of drop dead time to be done is. And then, you have your kind of in between, which is like pictures and cocktail hour. And then your reception, you can kind of work your way and, there's different variations of how your reception can run. And we'll talk about that, I'm sure. But, that part, you kind of have a set time, like you have 4 hours or you have 5 hours or 3 hours or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to just figure out the best way to kind of put all the things that you have to do, although you don't really have to do anything anymore. But those big things that people kind of expect you to do at a wedding. And then, got to make time for dancing too.
Well, yeah, that's important. Let's be real. That's why we're there.
That's right. Not for the marriage itself, right?
Right. No, pretty much just the food and the dancing.
The dancing, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So if you don't, hypothetically, we don't have a planner.
Yeah.
Okay. Are we doing this? So we're working backwards. Great. We know where the milestones are along the day because we're kind of told that. How detailed are we getting? Are we doing this in a Word doc? Are we writing it on a notepad? Are we using Post-it notes? Like what are we doing?
Well, I think this is a great plug, right? Like even if you don't have a full service planner, you want to get a coordinator or day of coordinator or month of coordinator or whatever people are calling that particular service that helps you at the end of the day, at the end of the planning, because event management,
sure.
It all kind of comes down to the same thing where that person's going to help you put together the timeline, and they probably have like a great process that they use that they can like replicate for your wedding. That's going to be really like spot on. So that's like the benefit obviously of hiring a professional, which you can obviously find on Bustld because we vet all of our vendors and they're all professionals. Shameless plug. But if that doesn't work for you, or maybe you have a smaller wedding and you really don't need a coordinator, you want your timeline to be as detailed as possible. And I know it seems crazy, and even if you live your life like Ryan, by the seat of your pants, this is not the time to do that, because you certainly don't want to get to the end of your reception and be like, oh man, I meant to cut the cake. Yeah. I totally forgot.
Or do a bouquet toss.
Or do the bouquet, you know, and I've like heard people talk about that before. Like the day just gets crazy and you don't want to forget something that was important to you.
Yeah.
So having like a schedule will at least, it doesn't have to be hard and fast, right? Like it's not like, oh my gosh, it's 8:02. If I don't, cut the cake right now, it's the end of the wedding. Like this is terrible. My day will be ruined. But there needs to be like some kind of guidelines.
Right.
Because otherwise you're going to end up, forgetting things or running out of time to get on the dance floor, or like a lot of couples will like go to each table and maybe they spend too long at every table. And so there's no one kind of moving them along. And then at that point you're like, well, I have 20 minutes left to dance, and dancing was my major priority at my wedding. And well, that stinks. That was not what I was looking for when I spent, all these months and money planning. So I think you want it to be as detailed as you possibly can, like down to the minute. Our timelines are typically 8 to 10 pages.
They're intense, but I mean, when I've assisted you, I've followed them along, and it's even for, a chaotic person like myself, it's it's good because it kind of keeps you on task.
Yeah. And especially if you don't have a planner and you have presumably someone is kind of keeping you on track. So whoever that person is, you want to make sure that they know what you're thinking and what you're planning, because not everyone can, not everyone's been along the way planning every single second of your wedding. So that's the great part, obviously, about a coordinator, is they'll get to know you and you guys can work on that timeline together. But if you're doing it yourself, whoever's going to be in charge on the day of, whether that's a bridesmaid or, a venue coordinator, or photographers sometimes become de facto planners, but you want to make sure that there's like definite guidance. That way, like, hey, hair and makeup's got to be done. Like, we got to push forward. We got to get dressed quickly because we're running a few minutes behind. That way your whole day doesn't like end up crazy, or I've heard stories of like ceremonies starting like an hour and a half late, and that's just and then your reception's pushed back and now you have all these extra charges and it's just chaos, and you don't want chaos on your wedding day. You want to be able to relax on your wedding day and be a guest
as much as you can,
as much as you can, because it already is crazy in its own right.